this, and welcome everyone to the February 2021 meeting of the MWOTRC Old Time Club. For those who don't know me, I'm Dennis Roma. I am the club recorder who takes down the meeting minutes. I think the officers present are myself and Jim Pasquale, our club vice president. Normally we start things off with the first 15, but the first 15 was supposed to be presented by Martin Grams this evening. So we will put a pin in that and come back to it later. What we could start off with is, I guess, the business meeting. We'll start off with the treasurer's report, which I've received an email from Joni Langdon. There have been no changes in the membership since Joni is not only our treasurer, but our membership chairperson. So currently our membership still stands at 122. In terms of the treasurer's report, we've had no expenses this past month. We've had some income of $17.32, bringing our balance to $7,544.62. A nice healthy treasury. Next up, we would have a report from the Print Librarians. Mark Marshall, anything?
Nothing coming in. We have one request from Ron Barnett for the book Heavenly Days, and I'm going to just take care of that myself.
Yeah.
So you got $2 coming from me.
Yeah, I believe Rob actually requested that at our last meeting as well.
Right. We haven't been out to the post office.
Yeah, we only go out once in Eclipse now.
Nothing new. Okay. I guess is the other librarian. I don't think I see Rebecca here, but I think is Kathy here?
Yes, on.
Yes, Kathy's on.
Yeah.
Except
anything?
she's muted.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay.
Yay.
Nothing new to report on the CD library, and I can't speak for the cassette library, but nothing for the CD library.
Okay.
If I may, I'd like to thank Rebecca because Rebecca sent out some cassettes that I requested, and I appreciated it very much that she made the trip to the post office and got them out to me.
I'll add on to that she made a personal delivery to a whole bunch of cassettes to my house for Virginia and for me. So she's on the job.
Thanks. All right. The next up would be our esteemed vice president, Jim.
Here I am. Yes, here I am.
Yes. Anything to report?
Programs. Programs coming up in the future.
Yes.
John Abbott is going to give us a Johnny Dollar program next month. And after that, the year is wide open. So rush your submissions in.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. As far as I know, there is no old business. The club officers haven't discussed anything since our last meeting. Does anybody have any new business to bring up?
I have one very quick item, which I think will be of particular interest to you, Dennis.
Yes.
I had let a few of the people know that the MeTV has a morning cartoon program, and they advertised the half-hour show of radio-related cartoons. And they had a cartoon that portrayed the great Gildersleeve, or at least the character. And then they had, at the end, they had a takeoff of Truth or Consequences with Porky Pig and Daffy Duck, who was cruelly abusing Porky Pig until the end. But the most interesting cartoon was not apparently radio related. It was a Popeye cartoon. And this will interest you, Dennis, because the voice was not the original person. It was not Jack Mercer. It was the only theatrical Popeye short that was voiced by Floyd Buckley, who was the radio Popeye in the 1930s radio show. So I thought that was a very obscure connection, but I thought it would be of interest. And Fred kindly has recorded a copy, which people can order, and perhaps he'll donate a copy to the library, a DVD. But I just wanted to share that with everyone, and particularly you, Dennis, since you played Popeye in our Zoom Popeye play back in October.
Yes, and my voice still hasn't really fully recovered from that. So fortunately, I have a doctor's visit for a 6-month checkup, so I'll mention that to him. But yeah, it's
Eat a little spinach there, you know.
yeah, Popeye is the gift that keeps on giving. So very good. Any other new business from anybody? I think a brief mention for new business is that we have I guess a couple people who are attending this meeting this evening that hasn't attended before. I believe we have the OTR historian Jim Cox, and do we have either Sedge Moss or Fred Fett is here now?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can anyone hear me?
We can hear you.
Oh, good. Fred here. Glad to join you all.
Welcome, Fred.
Welcome, Fred.
Good to hear you.
Thank you so much.
I want to wish a special happy Lincoln's birthday to our big Lincoln historian man, Edgar Russell.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. It's kind of you to remember.
And a happy Chinese New Year to everybody. It's the year of the ox, but I'm still writing the year of the rat on my checks.
Very good.
I remember Edgar's Mr. Lincoln and the Young Ones that a lot of us participated in that recording many years ago, but that was the script that he wrote, and we did it at the community studio with sound effects and everything.
Yeah, Chuck Langdon directed it, and I believe Nick Williams was involved. But we had a very good cast, and I remember, Mark, you played the conductor, and you delivered your lines very sensitively. So I was very appreciative for your performance.
Well, thank you very much. It was an enjoyable afternoon, that's for sure.
Very good. Well, then, if we have no other new business, then I guess we can actually move on to the quiz, because I'm still not seeing Martin here. I guess Sally, are you ready to present the quiz?
Yes, if everyone could mute themselves. Otherwise, I'm happy to mute everyone and then unmute Sally, if that's easier for folks.
This one.
Sally, you're the co-host, so you should have the ability to pull up the poll.
She told us to mute.
Yeah, but there's a better way.
Here, I'll mute everybody. And then
All
Sally
right.
can unmute.
Unmuted. There we go.
Yeah.
Everybody's muted. Thank you so much. Okay. I should have the ability to launch the poll here in just a moment. All right. Our quiz master Jack has created our excellent quiz for February, and this month is all about kids programs. So get your thinking caps on, kids, and I will give you a few seconds to get your pencils and paper and prepare yourself for the quiz. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Prepare yourself, Dave. 5, 4, 3, 2. Launching. See what I did there? See what I Remember, you may answer in the poll faster than I will read. I will read each question and every answer 2 times. Number 1. Jack Armstrong was sponsored by which wheat cereal? Cream of wheat, Quaker puffed wheat, General Mills Wheaties, Nabisco shredded wheat. Jack Armstrong was sponsored by which wheat cereal? A. Cream of wheat. B. Quaker puffed wheat. C. General Mills Wheaties. D. Nabisco shredded wheat. Number 2. Straight Arrow's horse was A. A black Mustang named Chief. B. A pale brown stallion named Lightning. C. A pinto pony named Comanche. D. A golden palomino named Fury. Straight Arrow's horse was A. A black Mustang named Chief. B. A pale brown stallion named Lightning. C. A pinto pony named Comanche. D. A golden palomino named Fury. Number 3. The arch enemy of Captain Midnight was A. Lex Luthor. B. Ivan Shark. C. The Joker. D. Dr. Savannah. The arch enemy of Captain Midnight was A. Lex Luthor. B. Ivan Shark. C. The Joker. D. Dr. Savannah. Number 4. Little Orphan Annie, sponsored by Ovaltine, debuted when? A. 1931. B. 1933. C. 1935. D. 1937. Little Orphan Annie, sponsored by Ovaltine, debuted when? A, 1931. B, 1933. C, 1935. D, 1937. Number 5. Radio's Dick Tracy began as a comic strip created by A, Milt Caniff. B, Chick Young. C, Chester Gould. D, Hal Foster. Radio's Dick Tracy began as a comic strip created by A, Milt Caniff. B, Chick Young. C, Chester Gould. D, Hal Foster. Number 6. Tom Mick's sidekick prior to Sheriff Mike Shaw was A, the Old Wrangler. B, Packy McLeod. C, Laramie Johnson. D, Prairie Jim. Tom Mick's sidekick prior to Sheriff Mike Shaw was A, the Old Wrangler. B, Packy McLeod. C, Laramie Johnson. D, Prairie Jim. Number 7. Sky King had 2 teenaged relatives as companions. They were A, Pam and Jerry. B, Punch and Judy. C, Penny and Clipper. D, Pepper and Salty. Sky King had 2 teenage relatives as companions. They were A, Pam and Jerry. B, Punch and Judy. C, Penny and Clipper. D, Pepper and Salty. Number 8. Bobby Benson of the B-Bar B was portrayed on radio by A, Ivan Curry. B, Bobby McKnight. C, Clive Rice, aka Clyde Campbell. D, all of the above. Bobby Benson of the B-Bar B was portrayed on radio by A, Ivan Curry. B, Bobby McKnight. C, Clive Rice, aka Clyde Campbell. D, all of the above. Number 9. Name the beautiful, diabolical woman on Terry and the Pirates. A, Tiger Mom. B. Dragon Lady. C. Madam Chang. D. Tokyo Rose. Name the beautiful, diabolical woman on Terry and the Pirates. A. Tiger Mom. B. Dragon Lady. C. Madam Chang. D. Tokyo Rose. Number 10. In 1972, DC Comics designated a town of 6,500 named Metropolis as the official hometown of Superman. In what state is it located? A. Tennessee. B. Pennsylvania. C. Illinois. D. Nebraska. In 1972, DC Comics designated a town of 6,500 named Metropolis as the official hometown of Superman. In what state is it located? A. Tennessee. B. Pennsylvania. C. Illinois. D. Nebraska. This concludes the quiz. Answers to follow the main program. Wendy, are you still co-host?
Yes.
Okay.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Sally. So I still don't see Martin Graham's. So I guess we will go with my makeshift first 15, which like I said, I've had in the hopper for a while. Just and like I said, it's somewhat timely. Last month, the actor Hal Holbrook passed away at the age of 95. Mainly, he's known for his theater work, especially his portrayal of Mark Twain. He's also known for his work on television and some movies. I believe he was the one who said "follow the money" and All the President's Men. But he also dabbled in radio. He appeared in a soap opera in 1954 called Brighter Day. Let me just double check that. But at the moment, I think the only existing recording of him on a radio show is from a program that I have in my collection. It is a short-lived series simply called Strange. Strange premiered in May of 1955 as a sustained program on ABC. And basically, it's I guess you could say it's one of the few shows that told true tales of the supernatural, as opposed to horror programs, like Lights Out or such. There's not too many programs out there that essentially were telling true tales. Closest and probably the most popular would be Ripley's Believe It or Not. There's other shows like Strange as It Seems, Strangest of All, Incredible But True, which actually is kind of pretty humorous on that one, where they would have somebody talking about, a New York heiress disappeared. At the same time, a beautiful goose appeared in the lake of Central Park. Coincidence? Which, of course, yes, in coincidence. But Strange followed into that same vein. It was a 15-minute program, airing 5 nights a week at 7:30. Its host was Walter Gibson, an accomplished stage magician and a prolific author, writing more than 100 books on various subjects like magic, psychic phenomenon, true crime, mysteries. He's ghostwritten for several stage magicians like Harry Houdini, Howard Thurston, Harry Blackstone. He's probably most well known for as being the writer of the pulp novels of The Shadow. Basically, The Shadow started off as a radio host, and then for Street and Smith Detective Hour, and then people would go to the newsstand asking for that Shadow magazine because they keep forgetting the actual name of the magazine, Street and Smith Detective. And so Street and Smith says, the publisher said, we need to get a Shadow magazine out there. And so they hired Walter Gibson to write that. And for a while, he was writing like 2 novels a month of the Shadow. But obviously he was very interested in the strange and the supernatural, and so he hosted this program. As I said, it was short-lived. It only lasted, let's see, like it premiered in May and only ran through October of 1955. And I don't believe I have an exact count of how many episodes, but it ran for 22 weeks. So if it was not preempted, then that's you have a possible 110 episodes, of which only a dozen or so exist. Actually, only 9 episodes are in circulation, and one starring Hal Holbrook is one of those, which we will listen to. So once more, I apologize for the sound quality, as I'm just playing it on and having it play over my microphone. But here we go. This episode aired in September 14th, 1955, where we have a 30-year-old young actor by the name of Hal Holbrook as the star of Strange.
The story you're about to hear is true, but strange.
On Christmas Eve, Tom, you picked up a girl on the road and didn't even tell me about it.
Wait a minute, Lucille. How do you...
She was a beautiful girl with eyes like nothing a man has ever seen before.
You've been talking to Bill?
And you end up at my house walking around as though you weren't quite connected with this world.
Answer me. Have you been talking to Bill? Did he tell you about this?
I've talked with Bill, but he didn't tell me any part of this. And neither did anyone else. But I know, and I can tell you every detail of that ride.
How?
That's why you're out for this ride, darling. I'm going to show you how.
Strange, true stories of the supernatural, with your narrator, famous author, lecturer, and expert on weird and unusual events, Walter Gibson.
Thank you, Charles Woods. At the turn of the century, a train ran through Connecticut, which local residents dubbed the ghost train. It was real enough at the time, but its white cars gave it a weird effect when seen through the night. In years to come, the term became even more appropriate. A few years ago, Tom Lacey was driving over back roads in Connecticut to spend Christmas with his fiancée. In the rear seat, his friend Bill Bowen was dozing comfortably along with his dog Spangles. Tom didn't like the road very much.
We should have put on chains. Pretty hard to hold this car down these old high-crowned roads. Hey, that sounds like a sleigh. Where is it? Gee, I wonder if there could be a side road running along here. I can hear those bells as plain as day, but there's not a sign of the sleigh, either in front of us or behind us. Well, I'd sure hate having to stop for it in a hurry while I'm going down this long hill. Train coming. It's an old steam train. Gee, I thought everything up there was diesel. No more bells. The sleigh must have stopped for the train, and I'd better... Whoa, whoa. White cars. It's like a ghost train. The seal didn't mention anything about railroad crossing and resurrection. There's somebody in the road, I think. Yeah, it's a girl. She's been looking for a ride way out here. Well, there's somebody to talk to since Bill won't wake up. Hey, get in. You must be frozen standing out there. Here, I'll close the door for you. Well, where to, miss?
To my house. In the valley at the foot of the Long Hill Road. My father is ill. I must get to him right away. Right away.
Long Hill Road? I'm afraid I don't know where that is.
Take the first right down the hill. At the bottom, take the left fork across the covered bridge. It's the first house, the other side of the river.
Okay, take it easy. I'll get you there. Well, I guess this is the place, miss.
Yes,
There's somebody waiting for you in the porch, I think, with a lantern.
my brother Leonard.
Oh. Oh, wait a minute. Let me get the door. It sticks.
Thank you.
Well, wait a minute. You don't have to be in such a hurry, do you? I'd kind of like to see you again.
After Christmas, I'm sure my father will be well. Good night.
It was a gay Christmas at the home of Lucille Rutledge, Tom's fiancée. But Tom, oddly enough, was more quiet than usual. Although Lucille worried a little, asking if he felt all right, Tom would not admit to anything being wrong. Finally, she got Bill Boland aside to ask a few pertinent questions.
Bill, will you talk to me for a minute?
Sure, pick a subject.
I can't help wondering what's happened to Tom. Do you have any idea?
Well, I didn't know anything had happened to him.
Oh, well, now, he's not being himself at all. He's quiet. And you know that's not at all like Tom.
Come to think of it, I guess that's right.
We haven't seen each other since Thanksgiving. Are you sure that he hasn't met another girl?
No. Look, he dragged me through every high-priced store on Fifth Avenue before we came up here, and he was like an anxious adolescent. Did I think you'd like this? Did I think you'd like that? Was it the right color? Does that sound like a guy who's got his mind on another girl?
No. And one of you certainly had good taste in presents, I must say. But just the same, he's been quiet and strained ever since he got here. So something must have happened. Tom. Bill, nothing happened along the road, did it?
Well, you can't prove it by me. I was asleep most of the way out here.
No, think hard.
Honest, nothing. I vaguely remember hearing Tom muttering to himself while he drove along, but
And?
Well, now that I think of it, I do seem to remember a woman's voice in there a couple of times. Of course, I thought I was dreaming.
Do you remember where you heard it?
Oh, I didn't even open my eyes. All I know is we were going down a hill. We seem to have been going down a hill the whole way up here.
It was a long hill, in other words. Now I know what's been the matter with Tom.
Oh, wait a minute, Lucille. If there's anything I've said, I don't want to get it.
Rest easy, Bill. But tomorrow I'm going to take Tom out for a drive, and you're not invited.
The roads hadn't improved a bit. Lucille insisted on going out for a drive with Tom on the following day. She took the wheel, and as the car pulled out of the village, she said,
I should be jealous, you know.
Huh?
Yes, you pick up a girl along the road. Don't even tell me about it.
Wait a minute now.
She's a beautiful girl. with eyes like nothing a man has ever seen before.
You've been talking to Bill.
And you end up at my house, walking around as though you weren't, well, quite connected with this world.
Answer me. Have you been talking with Bill?
I've talked with Bill, yes, but he didn't tell me any of this.
Well, then how'd you know?
Uh-huh. Ah, that's an admission that it's all true.
Well, all right. I picked up the girl, yeah. Well, she was standing beside the road trying to flag a ride to her home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, it looked pretty cold out there, so I took her home.
Yeah, but you wanted to see her again.
Well, I wanted. Well, Look here. Was this kid a friend of yours or what?
No.
Well, then how did you know all this?
I'm psychic.
Oh, nonsense.
No, really, Tom. Why the stare ever since you got here? Do you realize that you haven't looked me in the eyes once?
Well, I didn't realize. I'm sorry. It won't happen again.
Yes, but what's your promise worth? How do I know it won't happen again?
Because I love you, and I want to marry you. And you're the only girl in the world for me.
Oh. Well, that goes a long way toward getting you out of the doghouse.
Oh, that's good.
Now, if you can explain walking around with a dreamy countenance.
Well, you put your finger on it, all right. See that girl's eyes? They're what had me walking around in a trance. I just couldn't get them out of my mind.
All right, darling. Now, I'll show you how I happen to know all about it. Although, this is an advantage that I really should keep.
By a roundabout way, Lucille drove Tom to the long hill, where unexplained things had started happening to him. Different as it appeared in daylight, Tom could still recognize it, and he said so.
That's right, darling. See, now we're headed back toward my house on exactly the same road you took Christmas Eve. Do you remember hearing something around this point?
Yeah, sleigh bells.
Did you see the sleigh?
No, that's what stuck me.
You didn't see the sleigh because it was traveling an old road that doesn't exist anymore. It used to run parallel to this one, at least partway down the hill. And then, just about here, I should think, you started hearing a train whistle.
Yeah, I'm darned if I did. How did you know?
And when you came around this curve, you saw...
I saw a train.
Yes. But now... Look, in the light of day, do you see any railroad crossing there?
No, there's not a sign of one. Was I out of my head?
No, darling, you were all right. Look on either side of the road. You'll see the old railroad bed where the line used to run through here.
Yeah?
And right here is where you picked up the girl, isn't it?
Yeah, she was standing right over there by that rock.
Now, Tom, the reason I know exactly what happened is that it's happened before to other people down through the years. You see, back around 1900, a girl named Ethel Wyman was hurrying down this hill in a sleigh, trying to reach her father's sickbed before he died. And she was struck and killed here by the train that used to run on this line.
Yeah, and it was painted all white, wasn't it?
And every year at Christmas time, the scene is reenacted with the girl standing by the side of the road, trying to get a ride to her father's house. And everyone who has experienced it has made a point of reporting the girl's eyes. They were haunting.
Yeah, they certainly were. Well, so I picked up a ghost and took her home, huh? See, that'll be something to remember.
Yes.
Look, now will you tell me why all this business about you being jealous?
Oh, well, it was just too good an opportunity, sweetheart. I just wanted to be sure that you'd never look at another girl again, no matter what kind of eyes she had.
Thinking it over later, there was something that neither Tom nor Lucille could puzzle out. Before reaching Ethel Wyman's home,
Tom had taken a left fork at the bottom of Long Hill, then crossed a covered bridge. Retracing that route in daylight, he found that neither the fork in the road nor the bridge existed. The road ended at an abutment, and beyond it lay Great Hollow Reservoir, built 40 years before.
Tune in at this same time for Walter Gibson, your expert on the supernatural. Stories of ghosts, of spirits, werewolves, and voodoo. And each story you hear is true, but strange. Strange with Walter Gibson as your expert was directed by Bill Marshall. In the cast were Mary Patton and Hal Holbrook. This is Charles Wood speaking.
And that was Strange, as I said, which aired in September 1955. While the story itself may be strange, was it true? Well, I did a little research, and this is what I found. There, in the 1890s, there actually was a train which was called the Ghost Train. There were two train lines which ran from Boston to New York. One ran along the shore, and that was called the Shoreline. And then the other one was they tried to make it as direct as possible, as as the crow flies, as if you were traveling straight through the air, and that was called the airline. The company which ran the airline, New York and Northeast Railroad Company, in order to compete with the Shoreline, which is the more popular one, had purchased 13 Pullman cars, which were painted a cream white with gold trim to attract wealthy customers. As a promotional gimmick, they then whitewashed the coal, the caboose, the engine, all in white. And its official name was the White Train. And people actually would go to the railroad track to see it pass by as it went by. But from the very start, they called it the Ghost Train. And that's and that actually, the Ghost Train lasted 4 years, from 1891 to 1895. Not because it wasn't popular, but it turns out it was just too expensive to keep that train clean and constantly whitewash it, because they would whitewash the coal at the start of the trip and then on the return trip as well. So yes, there actually was a ghost train. There actually also was a collision between the ghost train and a sleigh. In 1892, a prosperous farmer in Durham, Connecticut, by the name of James Bailey, was riding a sleigh with his daughter one winter dusk, didn't see the train coming, and the train collided with a sleigh. The father was killed, but the daughter survived, unlike in the story where the daughter was killed. There is no record of a Tom Lacey picking up an Ethel Wyman, nor any other of the characters mentioned in the program. Not even Spangles the dog. There's no mention. In fact, a lot of the 9 episodes that I've listened to of Strange all seem to be secondhand and third-hand accounts. In the particular of this episode, while the existence of a white train or ghost train existed, it seemed like most of the story was based on the urban legend of the vanishing hitchhiker. Somebody picks up a person. They said, "Please take me to this home." When they get there, the passenger had vanished. In fact, Strange took a lot of dramatic liberties with their episodes. Perhaps the most accurate one would be the one told about the Flying Dutchman, perhaps because it was the most recorded off the coast, I believe, of Australia, because one of the shipmen was actually the grandfather of Queen Elizabeth II. I believe he grew up to be King George. I may be incorrect on that. But even that, they actually moved the location from Australia to India so it could dovetail to a Rudyard Kipling poem they used at the beginning of the episode. And that, in a nutshell, is the history of the Strange radio show.
Dennis, did you say that Walter Gibson wrote those himself?
I believe he did. I believe there is a number of scripts at Duke University. The Duke University has 97 scripts in their Walter Gibson collection. You could find some online. I believe you can find 3 of the scripts online. And yes, it's just I just found this one the most interesting because of the history of the ghost train, and with the passing of Hal Holbrook, and go, oh, that's rather timely. And well, I hadn't planned to present it this evening. Obviously, with the absence of Martin Grams, it just seemed, an appropriate time. So very well. So unless there's any other questions, we can move on to the main event with our presenter, which would be Jack French. Oh.
Jack, you're on an iPad, I think.
Yeah, I got it.
You've unmuted.
Okay, tonight we're going to talk about the history of quiz programs. This was suggested by one of our members who said it would be an appropriate topic, particularly in lieu of the recent death of Alex Trebek. So I've selected excerpts from 10 quiz programs, and basically I'm going to let them talk for themselves, and you can decide which are the good quiz programs, which are the not so good ones, which are the ones that are really game shows pretending to be quiz programs. And some of them are just a vehicle for a announcer to tell a lot of bad jokes while he's interviewing a possible contestant. Now, quiz programs come along very early in the golden age of radio, probably one of the first programs, because they were very cheap to produce. In fact, you only had 2 people at the mic that you had to pay the salary of, and that was the announcer and the host. And everybody else that came to the mic was there for free in hopes of winning a prize. And the other thing that made them popular with the sponsors was you could put the commercial and mention the name of the product every 3 or 4 minutes if you wanted to during the entire program, which obviously you couldn't do with the majority of dramatic shows. And you could refer to the product even in the prizes, like here's a carton of Lucky's, here's a can of Campbell soup, etc. So they're very popular with the sponsors. The shows I'm going to play for you tonight are more or less in chronicle order. I'm going to start with the earliest ones and come up to one from the 1950s. And as I said, I'll let them pretty much speak for themselves, but I'll give you the significance in terms of how many copies of that show are available today, how long the show was on the air, and any very significant things about that show. We'll start off with Sally Stevens' favorite show, Ask It Basket. Ask It Basket was on the air from October of 1938 to April of 1941, half-hour show coming from CBS in New York. There were a total of 140 shows that aired, and we only have 1 in circulation. And the reason for that is it was the broadcast of September 21st, 1939. And you should know that significant date. And if not, I'll tell you at the end of the program. So let's start off with Ask It Basket.
WJSB, Washington. The Colgate Ask It Basket, on the air with Jim McWilliams, radio's original question and answer man. Jim has picked 4 contestants from the volunteers in the audience. They're all raring to go. Well, now let's see. They are a sailor, a student, a stenographer, and a department store buyer. And they're all competing in this friendly and amusing contest for 3 cash prizes and answering questions that come from your hometown and mine. And here he comes, Gino Jim McWilliams. Thank you, good evening, everybody. and a big welcome to you all. Are your hands all clean? Are your faces clean? And I'm sure your teeth are clean too if you use Colgate Dental Cream. Am I right, Del? Absolutely, Jim. To Colgate Dental Cream. Buy a tube tomorrow. All right, Jim, on with our Ask It basket. Okay, Del, but first I've got to give myself a couple of squeaks on the buzzer. Last week I said that Brooklyn was not a borough of the city of New York. It is. I'm sorry, all you loyal Brooklynites, and thanks for calling it to my attention. And now, for Colgate Ask It basket number 1, our first contestant, a very charming young lady, comes to the microphone. Your name, please? Sylvia Fisher. Sylvia Fisher. Where are you from, Sylvia? Brooklyn. Brooklyn? And what is your business? Stenographer. You're a stenographer, all right. We'll choose a question and hand it over. We're very happy to have you on this program, Miss Fisher. And this question comes from Bordentown, New Jersey. Miss Celia A. Gaskell asks, if you were in the market for a ruminant, R-U-M-I-N-E-N-T, would you go to a stockyard, a bargain counter, or a secondhand bookshop? Right into the microphone. And speak right up. What is that? Would you go to a stockyard, a bargain counter, or a secondhand bookshop for a ruminant? For a ruminant, how do you spell that? R-U-M-I-N-A-N-T. Stockyard. You go to a stockyard. Why? Well, you guessed it correctly. That is correct. All right, thank you. A ruminant is a cow or a camel or a deer or any animal that chooses cut. And our next contestant is a sailor in the United States Navy. What's your name, sailor? Peter Wershing. Peter Wershing. Where are you from, Peter? USS Helena, Brooklyn Navy Yard. Well, we're very glad to have you on this program. What's your rate? First class. Right at the microphone. First class. Well, choose a question there, Pete, and hand it over here. Thank you very, very much. Now, this question comes from Arlington, Massachusetts. Mrs. I.M. Chokin asks, if you were told that your parsimonious proclivities predominate perceptibly, would you be a mountain climber, a miser, or a music lover if you were parsimonious? If you were parsimonious, would you be a mountain climber, a miser, or a music lover? Take your pick, Pete. Yeah, I think I'd be a mountain climber, a miser, or a music lover. Miser. A miser. You have guessed correctly. All right.
Okay, the significance of September 21st, 1939 was the National Archives wanted a complete record of the entire broadcast day for a single station. And Washington's WJSV held up their hand and said, we'll do it. Now, this was an amazingly complicated, difficult task because their facilities for reproduction were the 16-inch discs, which played only 15 minutes long. And they had 19 hours of broadcast time to record for the National Archives. And they did so, and that's why we've got Ask It Basket in the currency today. There are several dealers that have got the entire day if you want to buy that particular day of Broadway broadcasting systems. The next show we're going to talk about is the grand old erudite Information Please. Now, Information Please was pretty much original in that up to that time, virtually all the quiz programs were grabbing somebody from the audience, sticking a microphone in their face and say, answer these questions. This one reversed it. The listening audience sent in the question and 4 experts were supposed to identify or get the correct answer. And if they could not, then the person who sent it in won the prize. The show was on from 1938 to 1951. And by that time, it was also on TV. It was on TV and radio at the same time. We'll introduce the 3 normal the panelists, and there was a guest which filled the 4th chair for every program, usually a entertainment, a political, or a sports personality of some fame. And tonight, the show is from May 9th, 1941. And the person filling in the fourth chair is Gene Tunney, a former heavyweight boxing champion.
It's 8:30 New York time. Time to wake up, America, and stop the experts. Each week at this time, you get a chance to test yourself against Lucky Strike's quartet of quizzery and quippery. For every question we use, Lucky Strike pays out $10 plus a copy of the new Information Please quiz book. If your question stumps us, you get $25 more, plus a 24-volume set of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Send your questions to Information Please, 480 Lexington Avenue, New York City. If our editorial staff edits your questions a bit, don't fret over it. In case of similarity, we'll have to be sole judge of who shall be paid, and all questions become the property of Information Please. And I'll light up a Lucky Strike as I present our master of ceremonies, the literary critic of the New Yorker magazine, Clifton Fadiman. Mr. Fadiman.
Ladies and gentlemen, Information Please continues in its regular groove, completely carefree and unrehearsed. And tonight, our carefree board consists of the eminent sports and nature maestro, John Kieran, the New York Post's conning tower man, the lyrical Franklin P. Adams, the quintuple threat composer, Oscar Levant, and as our guest of honor, an American whom we are glad to salute, Lieutenant Commander Gene Tunney, U.S. Navy. Remember, for each question missed, Lucky Strike rings up $25. And that's paid out to the sender, plus 24 volumes of the Encyclopedia Britannica. Well, gentlemen, suppose we start this evening with a question coming from Stanley Woodward of this city. How are these feminine names associated with sports? None of them is Jean, Mr. Tunney. This is not a setup. The first is Mary Ann. How is that associated with sports? Mary Ann. Mr. Tunney.
Frank Moran's right-hand blow, Mary Ann blow.
That's right. Why was it called that?
Well, he took the name. There was a fighter from Australia 40 or 50 years ago called Australian Bill Murphy, who was the first man to coin that term of Mary Ann for a right-hand wallop. And Frank Moran took it from that old timer.
He could be a sports expert, Mr. Kieran, couldn't he? He is, if the occasion demands.
And argue with him.
Now, the next feminine name is Daisy. Daisy, how is that associated with sports in any way? Mr. Tunney again, had his hand up first.
When a blow is landed, it's a daisy, a good clean blow on the fellow's chin. They call that was a daisy.
I suppose that would be true, but I think there's a closer association, not necessarily with boxing, by the way.
Baseball.
Wasn't
there a man named Daisy Hooper? What makes me say that?
I don't know. I just thought the things that come into your head. Mr. Kieran, did you have an idea?
Why Daisy
Well,
Hooper?
the term is used generally in sports, but it's used in baseball.
Yes, as Mr. Tunney said, I suppose any good hit or blow is a daisy. Wasn't it applied to Dazzy Vance's breakaway pitch, Mr. Kern?
No.
Mr. Kieran?
It may have been,
No?
but it's quite specious.
Really? You mean I'll have to cross this off my
No,
clock?
no, Mr. Woodward's on the Tribune. You better let him get away with anything he wants.
Well, apparently, according to Mr. Woodward, Daisy, it was Dazzy Vance's breakaway pitch. He called it Daisy, and when he was in the South, they called it Dazzy, sort of slurred over the...
I was going to say it's a bad pronunciation, or one about it is. I always call it Dazzy.
There it is. Well, that's how he got to be known as Dazzy.
Oh,
I think if Mr. Woodward is correct, you gentlemen are wrong.
That's right.
How about, which is what I call quick thinking, how about Calamity Jane? How does that apply in sports? Mr. Kieran?
Calamity Jane, I believe, was the name of the putter with which Bobby Jones achieved a good deal of fame on the links.
Yes, that's exactly right. Apparently, he won his Big Four golf championships with it. But that gives...
Now, the originator of Information Please was Dan Golenpaul, who exercised complete king-like authority over this show and over the sponsors. He not only picked the panelists, he picked the guest panelists, he picked all the questions, and he fought with the advertisers. The classic one even went into court. Lucky Strike, who was a sponsor of this show, for example, when they decided to go from a green package of cigarettes to a white package in order to attract more female smokers, and this happened in World War II, they created the unlawful and inaccurate phrase, Lucky Strikes Green has gone to war. And they pretended that the die was of use to the United States military, and they willingly surrendered it. And it wasn't true. And Golden Paul called about it. He canceled their commercials. They fought in court and finally settled out of court. And that's what happened on that. The next show is similar in the fact that Lewis Cowan, who created the Quiz Kids, based it pretty much on information please, meaning he had a panel of experts and the quiz questions were sent in by the audience and you got a prize if they couldn't answer it. In fact, it was so much like information please that NBC refused to air it until he made certain changes. Number one, instead of having 4 people on the panel, they bumped it up to 5 and sometimes 6. And then they rotated it by kicking off the lowest scored panelist kid each week, and they could come back later, but they would get kicked off. So you got some variety there. The show was on radio from 1940 to 1956, and it was on television from 1949 to 1953. And curiously enough, the MC or the quizmaster, Joe Kelly, was a grade school dropout. At age 9, he quit school and went to work in vaudeville as a singer and never went back to school. And he was the quizmaster. So here from June 6, 1948 is the Quiz Kids.
Brought to you by the makers of Alka-Seltzer. Alka-Seltzer for headache. Alka-Seltzer for acid indigestion. Alka-Seltzer for cold discomfort. Yes, when these occasional ailments make you miserable, take Alka-Seltzer for really fast, really effective relief. Attention quiz kids, here's today's first question. What popular American dessert would you get if you joined up the last name of a leading 1948 pitcher of the Cleveland Indians with the nickname of the 1927 third baseman of the Pittsburgh Pirates? Yes, there it is. And are you folks at home up on your baseball enough to answer that question? Well, we'll soon find out how the youngsters here in our classroom make out, for here they are, the Quiz Kids and the chief quizzer himself, Joe Kelly.
Thank you, Bob Murphy, and hello, everyone. Friends, we have a very important guest for you to meet this afternoon, Mr. Roy Fisher, the winner of the Quiz Kids Best Teacher Contest for 1948. The group of youngsters here in our schoolroom have already met this young man, for yesterday, along with their brothers and sisters, they went with our best teacher for a plane ride over Chicago. The children tell me that the big Delta airliner they were in was really something, and they're still plenty excited over having been made honorary pilots. Now, this afternoon, Mr. Fisher is to receive his $2,500 scholarship award, which is the first prize in our Best Teacher Contest, from the chairman of the board of the Miles Laboratories, Mr. Charles S. Beardsley. So let's get busy, children, and get our schoolwork underway. Here we go with roll call. Joel?
I'm Joel Kupperman. I'm 12 years old in the departmental in the Volta School.
Lonnie?
I'm Lonnie Lundy. I'm 12 years old and in the 7th grade at Lincoln School in Park Ridge, Illinois.
David?
I'm David Freifelder. I'm 12 years old and in 8th grade at West School in Waukegan, Illinois.
Mark?
I'm Mark Mullen. I'm 7 years old and in 2nd grade at the University of Chicago Laboratory School.
And Helen?
I'm Helen Jasper. I'm 13 years old and I'm in the graduating class at Joyce Comer School.
And now, kids, let's straighten out that first question from Hilding E. Peterson of Birchdale, Minnesota. What popular American dessert would you get if you joined up the last name of a leading 1948 pitcher of the Cleveland Indians with the nickname of the 1927 third baseman of the Pittsburgh Pirates? We have 2 hands up. Lonnie's hand was first.
Well, the leading pitcher of the 1948 Indians is Lemon, and the nickname of the 1927 third baseman of the Pirates is Pie Trainer, so that'd be Lemon Pie.
Lemon Pie, that's it, Lonnie. Yes, sir.
The current availability of these shows is 100 plus audio copies of the radio show, and there's 3 or 4 of the television shows on YouTube. Our next show is called Double or Nothing. The show ran from 1940 to 1954. There's a total of 28 audio copies in circulation, but I'm going to play the most famous episode from that particular quiz show. I say famous in the sense that it had such a horrible blooper on it that John Dunning actually devoted a paragraph to describing this particular episode. And it started off very innocently. One of the leading contestants on the show that night of October 15th, 1948, was a former nurse of the Navy who was captured in Corregidor and held in a Japanese prison camp. So you would think this is a very somber show, and it turns out to be quite different. So we're going to play now for you Double or Nothing.
Tomatoes and cheese sauce, so richly mingled you get full flavor every forkful. Get Franco-American spaghetti. Good. Good. That's what Campbell soups are. Good. From Hollywood, Campbell soups present Double or Nothing, starring Walter O'Keefe. Listen to radio's original quiz show. Hear the Grand Slam finish, the red and white sweepstakes, and a full half hour of laughs and question marks. Double or Nothing. Tomorrow's the big day. Yes, tomorrow's the opening day of the fall's biggest grocery event, Campbell's Tomato Soup Week. And listen, Campbell's Tomato Soup is the same low price as a year ago. Yes, it's the soup most folks like best, and the price is as low as a year ago. Remember, tomorrow marks the start of Campbell's Tomato Soup Week, so size up your needs for weeks ahead and plan to buy a dozen cans, maybe a case, of the new packed Campbell's Tomato Soup during your groceries Campbell's Tomato Soup Week. Here now is Double or Nothing, and Campbell's Soup's man of the half hour, your paymaster of ceremonies, Walter O'Keefe. Okay, O'Keefe.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for such a riotous salute, and I want to congratulate Murray. He left his glasses home today, and he did all right. We're very fine. Now, according to a newspaper dispatch in the Hollywood Citizen News, I was just reading, Franklin M. Kreml, director of the Northwestern University Traffic Institute, has announced that women are safer drivers than men. Oh, dear, you don't always have to look in the comics to get a laugh, do you? I must admit one thing. Women are more resourceful as drivers. Take that new Studebaker of ours. You know the kind. You don't know whether it's going forwards or backwards. You know? Well, Mrs. O'Keefe has found out how to drive it sideways. Of course, she only does that at night because she's so considerate. She doesn't want her headlights glaring in somebody's eye. The lady who started all this about safety driving and women being better is Mrs. Russell Pfeiffer of Wilmette, Illinois, a member of the National Safety Council's club, who are known as the Wonder Wives. That's an organization of women who have driven more than 10,000 miles safely. You know, on the road, I seem to meet the other kind of Wonder Wives, you know. You know the type. You're driving along behind them, and every second you're wondering what they're going to do next, you know. The Safety Council was planning to present a cup to the woman with the best driver's record, but unfortunately, the man scheduled to make the award couldn't show up. On his way to the festivities, he was knocked down by a woman driver. Now, it's time we got on with our game here, which we know is Double or Nothing, and I want to explain to our first contestant, Miss Anna Miles. Right, Anna? Okay, Anna, I want to explain how we play this here. We have a $2 question, a $4 question, a $6 question, and a $10 question. You know, any money you win on those, you can take away. Sit down, take it. Then if you want to play Double or Nothing, you can go for a $20 question, you know, and you want to go on top of that, you can go Double or Nothing for $40. We also have a Grand Slam question, and that makes you $80 if you win, and we have the sweepstakes. Now, are we all clear for the game, Anna?
Right.
Let's square off. Anna, you tell me you're a waitress, right?
Right.
What did you do before that, Anna?
I was in the Navy.
You were in
I
the
was a
Navy?
nurse.
You were a Navy nurse? Where were you a Navy nurse?
Well, I was in Corregidor, 19 months.
You were
And I was-
captured?
Yes, I was. I was in Jap prison camp.
You were in a Jap prison camp for how long, Anna?
Well, I was there the whole 19 months, and the 3 months, the first 3 months we were in, we weren't bothered.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that, brother, we were certainly bothered.
Gee, I'd rather see you win here today than anybody else up here, I swear.
I'd like to.
You're not married.
No.
Where's your family from? Where's your dad from?
Well, my dad is from northern Michigan. He's
What
a
does he do?
casket maker.
A casket maker?
Right. He was waiting for me.
Anna, tell me, have you had any unusual experiences in your work as a waitress?
Oh, there's several.
For instance, anything that we could do with a daytime audience? You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
All right, what?
One is yesterday I ran into, I hate to embarrass the man that's in the audience,
Yeah.
but he asked me a very question that I didn't know how to answer, but anyway, I had him.
Yeah.
He asked me, he said his friend, I went to the doctor and he's very sick.
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do, and he said, I don't know what to tell him, do you?
Mm-hmm.
So right away I said, yes, maybe I can, I don't know.
Yeah.
I said, what the trouble was? He said, well, he can't go out nights, he can't eat, can't do nothing.
Poor guy.
And he said, he had to send his wife away on a vacation. So what do you think we should do with it? Well, I didn't know what to answer there, so I said, well, I don't know. What's your suggestion? He said, well, I think you should get a good-looking girl like you and take her home and just have a big screwing party. I said, what?
No.
I said, why don't I go down to the
Why don't we-
hardware
Anna,
and
why
get a
don't-
screw?
Anna, why don't we go on with the questions we have here for Campbell soup? What is your favorite kind of Campbell soup? What is your favorite kind of Campbell soup? Vegetable. All right. Put Anna down for vegetable soup. What category would you like to take?
Number 6.
Number 6. Well, number 6, first of all, we give you a chance at the Grand Slam question. How many piano tuners do you think there are in the United States?
Ooh.
How many piano tuners?
Piano tuner?
How many piano tuners in the United States?
Oh, about 8,000.
8,000. And you have chosen a category having to do with husbands and wives.
Right.
Here's a list of celebrities by their married names. All you have to do is give me the professional name of the star. Campbell Soup $2 question, Mrs. Phil Harris. What's her name?
Alice B.
All right. The Campbell Soup $4 question, Mrs. Harry James.
Betty Grable.
Right. The Campbell Soup $6 question, Mrs. Desi Arnaz.
Afraid I don't know that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Lucille Ball. Thanks for coming up, and we're sending you a gift case of Campbell's soup. Thank you.
Now, as you might imagine, the telephone lines lit up at CBS headquarters when she uttered that line about the screwing. And there was no ability to bleep in those days. However, the show was live in New York, and the West Coast stations transcribed it while it was on live, and then they replayed it 3 hours later. So CBS got on the phone and called every station on the West Coast and said, be sure you bleep that line. And when you finish recording the show and putting it on the air, destroy that record. And all the stations complied except one, and that's why you're hearing it now. Let's turn now to the better half, a mutual sustainer of all things, meaning no commercials. It was on the air from 1942 to 1950. That's a long time without a sponsor. There are 11 audio copies available. I'm going to play one from October 25th, 1945. The quizmaster is Edmund Ruffner, who was called Tiny Ruffner because he was 6'5", a former heavyweight boxer. So here's the better half.
Ladies and gentlemen, meet the better half.
Whoa, just a minute. Who is the better half, the husband or the wife?
Let's not argue, let's find out as the curtain goes up on another stormy session of the better half. The comedy quiz that spotlights the home life of Mr. and Mrs. America. match their wits in the battle of brains, brawn, and beauty for the title of the better half of the family. And here's the little man who tells them what to do and winds up every now and then with a black eye or two. Meet Tiny Ruffner.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, John Scott, and good evening. Now, friends, before we begin our show, I would like to tell you that this evening we have three very special couples. They're all members of the National Halloween Committee, which is devoting its efforts to promote nice Halloween parties for our servicemen so that they'll be very happy around this festive October occasion. And now, John Scott, would you introduce couple number one for some better half nonsense, please?
On tap and on their toes, Tiny, all set for a real better half decision, are Mr. and Mrs. Herbert Rolfe of New York, Cleveland Point West.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. Rolfe. Sit right down on that little keg of dynamite in front of the microphone, make yourself home. How are you?
Just fine.
I'm glad to hear that. How long have you been darning this fellow's socks, Mrs. Rolfe?
12 years.
12 years. And what do you do for a living, Mr. Rolfe?
I work for the largest donuts company in the world.
Yes. What do you do?
My job is to promote public consciousness of that great American delicacy, the American donut.
That sounds pretty good to me, Mr. Rolfe. Now, would you say that you married for better or for worse, Mr. Rolfe?
I would say for better.
Better for you and worse.
Say the other.
Yeah, better for you and worse for your wife. Huh? Well, so much for that. Now let's see how we can decide this issue in your family concerning the better half business. I'm going to give you a series of tests, each paying cash money, and the better half is the spouse who, when all is said and done, wins the more money. That's fair enough, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. All right. Let's get right on with our first test to find who the quicker thinker of the family is. 3 questions, each worth $2 for the first one to answer correctly in each case. Now, I'm going to call out a number, mind you, and I want you to name a state with that number of letters in its name. Now, the first number is 5. It's in the New England states.
Maine.
That's absolutely right, Mr. Rolfe. That's good, quick thinking. We check him up with $2. Now, next, 7 is the number. What is the state? 7.
Vermont.
Vermont. That is correct. Mrs. Rolfe, you could have said New York. That has 7 in it, too, you know. And here is the last one, 6. 6. Let's tell you that it starts with an N, that it's in the far west, that it's near California.
Nevada.
That is right, Mr. Rolfe. And we find at the end of this first test that you lead your wife here by a score of 6-0. And now, Mrs. Rolfe, for a fling at a question in the men's world. As a married woman, you probably know a lot about things that your husband knows a great deal about. Now, which one of those He-Man subjects there on the chart do you think you'd like to try for a $3 prize?
Automobile.
Automobile. Well. I wish we could get it, don't you, Mrs. Rolfe?
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to the time. Well, now, here you have to use your imagination a little bit, Mrs. Rolfe. I want you to name 5 things you'd find on an automobile that you would also find on your husband.
Shoes.
That's right. You mean tires, don't you?
Yes.
That's correct. That's one.
Windshield.
Windshield.
Oh, he wears sunglasses.
Oh, when he wears sunglasses. That's very good. That's good, too. Yes.
Coat.
A
Coat of paint.
Oh, coat of paint. That's excellent.
And,
Excellent. That's
the
only...
horn.
How in the world do you figure a horn?
Well, he snores sometimes.
Oh, he snores. That's pretty good thinking, Mrs. Rolfe. Now you have just one more. Just one more, Mrs. Rolfe. What's on the back of most cars? They keep tools in it.
A rear end.
That's all, brother.
The next show is called The Bob Hawk Show. And Bob Hawk was a very famous quiz master. In fact, he was the quiz master for 7 other quiz programs, including Take It or Leave It and Take 3, etc. This show he created for the Camel Cigarette Company and assured him, the sponsors, he would mention Camels at least 100 times in the half-hour show, and he does. And in fact, they even gave cartons of Camels to the people who gave the correct answers. They popularized the song You're a Limac Now, which was camel spelled backwards. There's only one show in existence, that's 3/21/49, and I'm going to play it for you now.
Is there a Lee-Mac in the house? It's the Bob Hawk Show, brought to you transcribed by Camel Cigarettes.
Here's your Lee-Mac man, yes, your Lee-Mac man. And if it's fun you're after, with questions, jokes, and laughter, be sure to ring the topmost after Bob Hawk, your Lee-Mac man.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Camel Quiz. Tonight, there's a prize of $250 for the Lee-Mac of the week. Lee-Mac is camel spelled backwards. I'll tell you more about that later. How mild can a cigarette be? Smoke Camels and see. Yes, prove for yourself how mild Camels are. In a recent coast-to-coast test of hundreds of men and women who smoked Camels and only Camels for 30 days, noted throat specialists reported not one single case of throat irritation due to smoking Camel. Charlie Stark, who's our first contestant?
Bob, this is Miss Ruth Hopwood.
Hello, Miss Hopwood.
Hello.
Where are you from?
Manhattan.
Manhattan, and would you tell us what you do, Miss Hopwood?
I'm registered nurse.
Where, here in New York?
Yeah.
Which hospital?
No hospital, a surgeon's office.
Oh, a surgeon's office
Yeah.
here in New York. You are a registered nurse. Fine, I'm glad to have you here. You prefer being a nurse to men or to women? Which are the easier the patients?
You kidding?
I'm not kidding, no. Why?
I prefer the men.
Why? Could you tell me?
They're more cooperative, and besides, they're men.
I see. And they may take a sudden turn for the nurse. I know that one, too. All right. Well, it was a little old. Though. I was reading the other day about a man who swallowed a spoon. He never stirred again. They didn't know. They didn't know what to do with it. Okay. Now, my uncle just had an operation, but it was not very dangerous. It cost him $40, and you can't buy a dangerous operation for $40. That's what they tell me. That's what they can have. Now, Miss Ruth Haywood, Hopwood it is. Is that right? Hopwood. Were you born here in New York?
Mostly.
There's one question I'd love to be answered yes or no. We'll try it again. Were you born here in New York?
Yes.
Oh, why, is there a doubt in your mind, Miss Hopwood?
I mean, not in Manhattan, in like Greater New York, is it?
Oh, Greater New York. I see. Not right here in New York. I thought maybe you were born on the borderline between the Bronx and Manhattan or something. You didn't register. All right, Miss Hopwood, and you're a registered nurse. I'm going to give you an opportunity of lighting up a camel tonight. I'll give you a series of questions which can light up the camel. If you get them all right, you'll get a seat in the Lee-Mac box. You'll get a chance later to win $250 and become the Lee-Mac of the week. Is that fair enough?
That's fair enough.
Let's give you a chance to start tonight. Here are a group of questions on a subject which we call letters. I'll show you what I mean. The postman, this is very difficult. The postman is always known as the letter what, starting with the letter C?
Carrier.
The letter carrier. The postman. Everybody waits for the postman to come by. Little town I was born in, the postman in our town was also the dog catcher, the vegetable man, the carpenter, and a songwriter. He had a sign that read letters, litters, lettuce, and lyrics. Here we are for the A for $10 and 2 cartons of Camels. When you find XYZs in your soup, you are probably having what kind of soup? Alphabet soup. Did you ever have any alphabet soup?
Yes.
You I'm boring you, aren't I? I forgot to pay for mine the rest of the other night, but I left some IOU, so it was all right. Here we are for the M, for $15 and 3 cartons of Camels. In most tall buildings, there is a what on each floor, starting with the letter N. Can you think of it? In most tall buildings, there is a what on each floor. Remember, we were talking about letters to start with. So in most tall buildings, what is there on each floor, starting with the letter M, that has to do with letters? Could you tell me?
Yes, but...
I know what the answer to the L is going to be. Now, this has to do with letters. People are going out and mailing letters all the time, aren't they? A mailbox. Well, a mail chute. I only got that one all right. That's right. It's a mail chute. Okay. You have lit up the M. I know what I think of those answers before I ask those questions. You lit up the M for $15 and 3 cartons of Camels. Now, another word for a formal or an elegant letter is a what, starting with the letter E? Can you tell me?
People might write a very formal letter, starting with the letter E. What would an elegant word for that be? For example, you might study about it in school, very formal letters.
You mean an essay?
Well, an essay is not a letter, no. But they might write a very formal letter starting with the letter.
Epistle, you
An
mean?
epistle, that's right. That's very difficult, and you did very well with it. Okay. You got it, didn't you? Okay. All right, here we, like, for example, someone writes a formal letter of acceptance or a formal letter of thanks. That's an epistle. Like some friends of mine got married, and they were writing their formal letters of acceptance of their wedding gifts. I got a letter from them that said, "Dear Robert, our little one-room apartment is so small and so cozy and so cute, but it would have never been complete without your St. Bernard dog." Here we are for the Yale for $25 and 5 cartons of Camel. A famous newspaper column to which letters are sent is known as advice to the what?
Lover.
You have lit up a Camel. Thank you.
The next one you probably have not heard of. It's called Correction Please. It was on the air from 1943 to 1945 on NBC. There's only one copy of it, and unfortunately it was preserved. It consists mostly of bad jokes, but the questions are all multi-choice. They would grab somebody from the audience and they would bring them up on stage. In this time, they brought up an Asian pilot for Pan Am who has the softest voice. You can barely hear him, but he manages to correctly answer the question. The quiz master is a guy that most of us know as a character actor in Hollywood, J.C. Flippin. Flippin is in probably about 50 different movies, usually Westerns or police story ones. But he didn't start that Hollywood career until 1947. And up to that time, he was on radio. So here's Correction Please, the only copy of its run from August 1945.
Bristol Myers, makers of Ipana for the smile of beauty and Vitalis for well-groomed hair, present Correction Please with Jerry Sears Orchestra and starring J.C. Flippin. And here's your Correction Please host, star of stage and radio with wit and good humor, who hands out Mazuma, J.C. Flippin. Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hi, Fred. Well, hello, Jay. What's the matter with you anyway? Why so downcast? I had a date with a beautiful girl last night. We had a spat. She left me and went home. You know, the trouble with you, Jay, is you just haven't got any savoir-faire. I haven't got what? Savoir-faire. I'm lucky if I have subway fare. I'm inclined to think that you're a little bit cheap. Oh, now don't be silly. Well, it's just a disgrace the way you make me save all those cereal tops. But Fred, don't you know that for only 12,000 crunchy wunchy box tops, I can get myself a new pencil with my name on it? Yeah, but Jay, you could get a pencil like that for exactly 5 cents. This is a fine time to tell me after I've eaten 11,500 boxes of crunchy wunchy. Now, but wait a minute, ladies and gentlemen, let's play Correction Please. From our studio audience, we've selected 5 persons. Each has been given $10 with the compliments of Ipana and Vitalis. During the game, they'll have a chance to double and triple that 10 whenever they get the bid on a set of statements. Later on, they have a chance on the big bonus prize of $100 in war bonds. And our contestants for tonight are a corporal in the Army from the Bronx, New York, a Navy signalman 3rd class from Ohio, a lovely little civilian lady from Chestertown, Maryland, an airborne paratrooper from way down yonder in New Orleans, and a captain in the Pan American World Airways whose home is Prince Rupert, British Columbia. Well, here we go. Our first set of statements is on the subject baby animals. Now, for example, a baby deer is a fawn, a baby cow is a calf, and so on. Get the idea? Now, I'll make 3 statements. One of them is wrong. Tell me which one it is, you double your bid. Now, if you miss, you forfeit the amount you bid, but if you guess right, you have a chance to double and then maybe triple that money. Now, who will start the bidding on that? Baby animals. $1. $1 from the Bronx.
$2.
$2 from the little lady from...
I'll bid 5.
$5 from Ohio.
6.
$6 from New Orleans.
10.
$10. Yes, sir. This is... Come right over, sir. This is Captain Albert Marr, M-A-H, of Prince Rupert, British Columbia, and the Pan American World Airways affiliate, China National Airways. There you go. Born up in Canada, huh, Captain?
Yes, sir.
And you're Chinese descent, aren't you?
Yes.
Chinese and Canadian?
Yes.
Which side is which?
Well, on both.
On both? Oh, both. I see. Tell me, Captain, in the Pan American Airways, you're the fellows who've been flying that CBI today, haven't you?
Yes, I've been flying the Himalayan mountain there, the hump, which is known over here. Made over 400 trips across there, close to 500.
Carrying ammunition and supplies?
Yes, and dropping supplies to isolated Chinese troops and to the engineers building the Burma Road.
My goodness, that's dangerous enough to fly over once, and you've been over there over 4,000 pounds?
400.
400? I mean, whenever you talk about that thing, I magnify it. It sounds like 4,000 times. Well, tell me, you must have had quite a few thrills there, Captain. What are some of the thrills? You got time to tell me?
Well, my biggest thrill was on the ground when I penetrated the Jap lines by foot to rescue my young sister from the Jap-occupied territory.
My goodness, then got in your plane and went back over the hump again?
Yes.
Give me 5. Got to talk to you. You're fond of animals? Is that how you happen to pick this category, Captain?
Yes, I'm quite fond of animals.
Yeah? You heard what the mama duck said to the baby duck. You're a very naughty child. If your father was alive, he'd turn over in his gravy. But that's not your set of statements. Here they are, Captain. You bid yourself 10. You got a chance to double it for 20 and possibly 30. Now, here we go. Watch yourself. 1 is wrong. Number 1, a baby duck is a duckling. Number 2, a baby frog is a frogling. Number 3, a baby goose is a gosling. Now, 1 is wrong. Which is wrong? 1, 2, or 3?
Well, baby frog certainly is a gosling.
Will you say that number 2 is wrong?
Yes.
You're right for $20. Yes, you do.
And now we turn to one of my favorite shows, and I hope one of yours. In fact, we did a recreation of it at the club about 5 years ago. The show was called Quick as a Flash. It was on Mutual from 1944 to 1949, switched over to ABC and ran another 2 years. There are 14 copies available in common currency, and we're going to play for you the March 16th, 1947 one.
The makers of Hellbros watches present Quick as a Flash. Time to wind up your mind with Hellbros. The makers of Hellbros watches, H-E-L-B-R-O-S, Hellbros, the correct watch for the correct time, present Quick as a Flash, the lightning-fast dramatized quiz starring Ken Roberts. And as guest in our mystery puzzle today, one of radio's all-time favorites, Lamont Cranston, alias The Shadow, with Ray Block and the Hellbros Orchestra. And here to get the program moving with the speed of lightning is our presiding officer, Ken Roberts.
Thank you, Guy Harris. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, it's time to play the game that determines whether you can really act quick as a flash. As usual, 6 contestants from our studio audience have been brought up on the stage and are seated at a long table. They're going to be pitted against each other in a series of dramatic puzzles worth more than $300. And you folks at home, you're invited to play a parlor version of Quick as a Flash by trying to beat our contestants to the answers. Now for our first puzzle of the day, with a prize of $21 from Hellbros. We're going to bring you the story of an event we should all have read about. As soon as any of our 6 contestants know it, they'll stop the description by pressing on a buzzer, like this. The one who's first with the correct answer wins, but they'll have only one chance in each race. Get ready now to act quick as a flash as soon as you know this well-remembered event.
Flash, it's wedding bells after all for that romantic pair. That certain loving couple who wouldn't let distance or authority stand between them. No, though miles separated them, they finally made it. The day at last they said I do to each other. Yes, the good one. You'd like me striking now in front of one of our contestants on Quick as a Flash. It's Marilyn Hancock, and what is your answer, Miss Hancock?
Is that Leo DeRosa and Elaine Day?
No, I'm sorry, that isn't the right answer, Miss Hancock. We have 5 guests left on Quick as a Flash, and we'll pick up our story. We had just learned that today at last they finally said I do to each other.
Yes, the groom, known to all his associates as a finagler of fancy phrases, wouldn't let another moment go by. He pitched woo straight and fast the minute he heard he was free to marry the raven-haired beauty he'd met on the boat. Yes, and it's orchids at last for her after spinning dizzily since the summer. But she's off the wheel where she's been ever since her British-born sweetheart couldn't make up his mind between love and beauty. Well, his choice is history now. According to custom, the groom did not slip the ring on her finger this fine American morning. Neither did the bride give her age. But it's a fact that her husband was one of the youngest and finest catches in all New England. And catch him she did. For it was she who topped the question. Now, what of another one of our contestants? That's Phil Hyden from here in New York. What is your answer, Mr. Hyden? Priscilla, John Alden. The courtship of Miles Sanders would be our answer, and that's absolutely right. Hellbros presents you with $21.
The next one is another extremely popular show, 20 Questions. 20 Questions was created by Mutual in 1946. It was on the air until 1954. There's a total of 16 audio copies available from that show, half of which are Armed Forces Radio Service, and that's what we're going to play for you tonight. And that's why you won't hear the Ronson commercials. Ronson was the sponsor, and which advertised their lighter and lighter fluid. And if the panel did not get the correct answer that you submitted in 20 questions, they gave you a Ronson table lighter, which was pretty impressive. This show is from January 8th, 1949, 20 questions.
Here's that animal, vegetable, or mineral game. 20 questions. And now here's that man about questions, Bill Slater.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to 20 Questions, the absolutely unrehearsed program where you listeners send in subjects for our questioners to identify in not more than 20 questions. And listen.
I'm hidden in a soundproof booth. I'll tell you what the subject is, and the poster will inform our studio audience. But we won't tell our questioners.
Who are Fred Vandeventer, famous newscaster, Florence Renard, musician and teacher, Bobby McGuire, a young high school student, Herb Palazzi, radio and motion picture producer, and our special guest tonight is that very popular young singing star and recording favorite, Mr. Johnny Desmond.
Welcome, John Boy.
Thanks to
We
you.
love you. We know the Bobby Soxers love you. You know, Bill Slater was a Bobby Soxers idol.
He was?
Yeah. That was during the Civil War.
You ought to know, you were my drummer, boy.
Oh.
All right, let's get into 20 questions here.
Bill is talking about a very well-known animal, the bear that went over the mountain.
Our friends at home know what it is. Unveil it to the studio audience now so that everybody knows what our 5 questioners. All right, see if you can get this subject in 20 questions. Van opens.
Is it a whole animal?
It is a whole animal, yes. Van again.
Is it human?
No, it's not human. Herb?
Would you say that it has 4 feet?
Yes.
You would say?
Yes, I would.
Nice to see a definite tonight.
Florence?
Is it fictional?
Yes, in a form thereof. Van?
Is it normally an edible animal?
Yes, it's an edible animal. That's 5 questions used. Herb?
Is it in a cartoon?
No, it's not in a cartoon. Florence?
Is it in a song?
Yes.
I was going to say, if I'd have said song, it'd have been in a cartoon.
That's life that way.
He has bad luck that way.
Van?
Is this a member of the sheep family?
Sheep family? No. It had to be you to be a member of the sheep family. No, it's not that. Florence?
Is it a member of the cow family?
No, it's not a member of the cow family. Herb?
Would you say it was a horse?
No.
Speaking of horses.
Not a horse. That's 10 questions.
You can eat horse
10
meat.
questions. You have a bit of a road to travel. Van?
Is this a domestic animal?
No, you wouldn't want to keep one in your home, I'm sure. Van?
Is this animal larger than a dog?
Yes.
Is
Florence?
it a bear?
Yes.
The bear that went over the mountain.
Florence, you are right.
Now, what most of the listening audience didn't realize was that 3 of the 4 people on the show were the same family. Fred Vanderveer was the husband. Florence, under her maiden name, was Florence Renard. Their son, Bobby, used his grandmother's last name, McGuire. And Herb Palacey, the fourth member, was Fred Vanderveer's best friend and the producer of the show. So that was your panel for 20 questions. The show went to TV in 1949 on NBC and then was briefly on the Dumont network. There's, let's see, 16 copies of it available. Our last one is produced by Goodson Todman, which will clue us to the fact that this was an audition show for television. And it was called Rate Your Mate. It's probably more of a game show than a quiz show. It didn't make it to TV. There's 5 copies available. It ran for only 9 months on CBS. Rate Your Mate was the quizmaster Joey Adams, who had made a fortune selling copies of his book, Joey Adams' Joke Book. I think what they did is went through the audience to find somebody who had some strange or weird occupations, and they brought them up as the contestants. One of the episodes considers a guy who was a chicken plucker. Today's guest is a guy who's a caterer, but he was formerly a gentleman's gentleman. So they could make jokes about that, and you'll hear them now.
Think you know what your wife knows? Think you know what your husband knows? You do? Then let's see how you rate your mate. Yes, it's Rate Your Mate, transcribed in New York, the show where it pays to know how much your mate knows about everything. And here's the man in charge of helping you rate your mate, Joey Adams.
Thank you very much. Well, I suppose a lot of you folks are planning to take a nice drive tomorrow. I was out last weekend, and it was so nice and warm and sunny. I had a wonderful time driving along in my car with the top down. Of course, I got a little late start because it took me 3 hours just to get the top down. You see, I don't have a convertible. Boy, what traffic. I've never seen so many cars on the road in my life. To give you just a small idea of how crowded it was, a friend of mine bought a car from the used car lot, and after 2 hours, he had to sell it back to the dealer. Couldn't get it out on the highway. Of course, I wouldn't have minded the traffic, but I had a little engine trouble with my car. I didn't know what to do. In the old cars, if anything went wrong, you could fix the engine yourself. But in these new cars, it's impossible to fix it. You can't even find it. But now let's get on with Rate Your Mate. Hal, who do you have as our first contestant?
First, Joey, let's see what this couple knows about each other. Elsie and George Winkle meet Joey Adams.
Welcome to Rate Your Mate, folks. Mrs. Winkle, how long have you been married? 32 years. Are you Mrs. Winkle? Then which one of you is Mr. Winkle? Well, you can straighten that out later. I don't know about it. Tell me, what do you do for a living, Mr. Winkle? I'm talking to you now.
I'm a caterer.
You're a waterer? A caterer. What do you do as a caterer? I cater. You cater? Yes, I cater. Have you always been in the catering business?
Oh, not always, no.
Well, what did you do before?
Well, I was in the service of the Governor General of Canada.
Yeah, what did you do for him?
I was a gentleman's gentleman.
You were a gentleman's gentleman for the Governor General? Hey, that's pretty good. Only 2 of you fellas, and you were holding down 4 jobs. Tell me, where did you meet this gentleman's gentleman, Mrs. Winkle, Mrs. Winkle?
In London.
In London, eh? You're both from England, is that right?
That's right.
Well, welcome to our shores. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's find out about this catering business of yours where you cater to the caterers. What do you do?
We supply food to cocktail parties and dinners and banquets.
Are you a good cook? Oh, no, I'm a dreadful cook. You know, I think I've been to a couple of your banquets. Tell me, Mrs. Winkle, do you help your husband in this business?
Yes, I do. I'm the one that does all the cooking.
Oh, well, that's different. Mrs. Winkle, what would you say would be a good average meal for a banquet?
Well, we'd maybe start off with vichyssoise, then we'd have a little shrimp cocktail, maybe some nice brook trout, then perhaps we'd have a charcoal broiled steak.
Never mind what the waiters are eating. How about the customers? Tell me, Mr. and Mrs. Winkle, we've been kidding a little here about banquets, but I'm sure you set a fine table, and I'm with you all the way. Mr. and Mrs. Winkle, the game must go on, so now's the time for one of you to rate your mate. Which one wants to answer the question?
I'll take it.
Okay, we're taking you off to our soundproof room, off stage. See you later, George, here. Now I'm going to ask George 4 questions. And before each question, Elsie, you'll have to tell me whether George will answer these questions right or wrong. In other words, Elsie, we are asking you to rate your mate. Do you think George will know this one? Where was Charlie Chaplin born?
I think he might.
You think he'll know it? We'll find out in a moment. Hiya, George.
Hiya there.
How's my gentleman's gentleman?
Well, I'm feeling a little better.
Good. Here's your first question. Where was Charlie Chaplin born?
In England.
You are right, and you win. Your mate said you would know it, and you did, so you win $25. It was in London, England in 1889. I'll be back in a moment. Don't go away, you hear?
Right.
Here's your second question. Do you think George will know this one? Who is affectionately known as the vagabond lover?
I don't think he will.
You don't think he'll know it? Hello, George.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you, number 2. Here it is. Who is affectionately known as the vagabond lover?
You got me guessing now.
Well, you are wrong, and you win.
And that's it for the quiz programs.
Yeah, it's Lawrence. I have 2 comments. You may or may not recall, but several years ago, I did a program for the club on WJSV the entire day. And in particular, noted that was the day that the president announced Lend-Lease, and it interrupted the baseball game between the Cleveland Indians and the Washington Senators. And the broadcaster for the Washington Senators was Walter Johnson.
I can't find the plug-in.
Oh, do I need to repeat that, Jack?
No, I hadn't heard you.
You heard me? Okay. The other was I was going to mention is that the rest of the pitchers for the Cleveland Indians included Bob Wemon, of course, Bob Feller, Gene Bearden, Sam Zoldak, and Satchel Paige.
I was asked, I would have said you know that.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Jack. Do we have any more questions for Jack?
Yeah, Jack, that last one, rate your mate, sounded very much like they were copying You Bet Your Life, the way the introduction and the, just a little bit different, but, just got the feel it was You Bet Your Life.
Yeah, very similar.
That was great, Jack. That was a really interesting program. Thank you. I learned about a bunch of new shows I want to listen to now.
Yeah,
Jack, if we want to learn more about the shows, are there books you can recommend or articles that you have written?
There's many books about both of these. Jim Cox, one of our members, has a great book called The Great Audience Participation Shows, which covers both the game shows and the quiz programs. Tom DeLong wrote a great book on the quiz shows called Quiz Crazy. And for the very first one, Information Please. Martin Graham's has a book off that he wrote in 2005. It's been recently released by Bear Manor Media. Excellent book on that. And many of the stars, including, say, the three panelists on Information Please, wrote their autobiographies and covered the show in depth.
Thank you.
Okay. If and I guess that now it's time to return back to the club's own quiz show. Sally, are you prepared to give the answers for tonight's quiz?
Yes, I can do
What
that.
are the prizes? What are the prizes we can win?
Your good feelings. Lots of good feelings. Wendy, I think I'm still
in a soup.
the shared host, so I can still, yes, I can. All right. So
You're still co-host, so you're fine.
all right.
You can launch the results.
Okay. And that. And all right, I'm going to share the results so you can see what people selected. But remember, just because most people picked one doesn't mean it's the right answer. So here come the poll results, and we'll read on through. Number 1, Jack Armstrong was sponsored by which wheat cereal? We had a few for just about all answers. Most people picked General Mills Wheaties, and they are correct. That is C, General Mills Wheaties. Number 2, Straight Arrow's horse. Oh, it looks like we were fairly spread on this one, but a pinto pony named Comanche beat out in the poll.
It's not.
Not correct. The answer is D, a golden palomino named Fury. Fury. So good job. The 6 of you.
Fury. He used to, instead of saying hi, ozone.
Number 3. The arch enemy of Captain Midnight was, well, thankfully no one picked the Joker. There looks like Ivan Shark has won out on the poll, but there was quite a few for Dr. Savannah. Okay, so I had it right the first time. All right. But not the doctor. It's not Lex Luthor. It is Ivan Shark. So as you may or may not know, Lex Luthor was the nemesis of Superman, the Joker was the nemesis of Batman, and Dr. Savannah of Captain Marvel. Number 4. Little Orphan Annie, sponsored by Ovaltine, debuted in what year? We were fairly spread on this one, but 1931 won out in the poll. The correct answer is, nice job, those 9 of you, 1931. A, 1931. Number 5. Radio's Dick Tracy began as a comic strip created by, we had a few answers for Milt Caniff, Chick Young, and Hal Foster, but most people said Chester Gould, and you are correct. Chester Gould. Milt Caniff created Terry and the Pirates and Steve Canyon, and Chick Young did Blondie, and Hal Foster did Prince Valiant. I always liked Prince Valiant. Number 6. Tom Mick's sidekick prior to Sheriff Mike Shaw was, ooh, this one. Everybody was fairly spread on this one, but Packy McLeod beat out in the poll just by a hair. However, the correct answer is A, the Old Wrangler. Nice job, the 2 of you that got that. And he was played by Percy Hamus? Packy McLeod was the sidekick of Straight Arrow. The other 2 names, Jack just made up to trick us.
Yes.
No, I could totally see Laramie Johnson and Prairie Jim hanging out in a Western. I'd like to hear the adventures of Laramie Johnson and Prairie Jim. Just saying, Jack. Let's have that story for a future program. Number 7, Sky King had 2 teenage relatives as companions. Who were they? Thankfully, no one picked Punch and Judy, though I was secretly hoping it was going to be Pepper and Salty. I mean, come on, that was great. I almost lost it during that one. But looks like Penny and Clipper won out in the poll. A few selected Pam and Jerry. The correct answer is nice job, you 15. Penny and Clipper. C. Penny and Clipper. Number 8. Bobby Benson of the B Bar B was portrayed on radio by who? Ivan Curry, Bobby McKnight, Clive Rice, or everybody. Most people said everybody. And we were not fooled. It is all of the names above. D. All of those actors portrayed Bobby Benson.
Sally, Ivan Curry is actually acting with Greg Oppenheimer's Spurdvac troupe, doing some radio plays that I think are going to be available on the internet. So go to Greg Oppenheimer's YouTube site.
That's very cool. Maybe we could even check some of those out. That would be very neat. Thank you for telling us, Edgar.
You bet.
Number 9. Name the beautiful, diabolical woman on Terry and the Pirates. I really wanted to pick the Tiger Mom. Really wanted to pick that, but I didn't. Nobody picked that one. I also wanted to pick Madame Cheng. Wasn't that the character in one of the plays we did a few years ago?
Yes.
Oh, I thought so. And Tokyo Rose. No. As you may recall from the, now I can't think of anything, but we did a program on that as well. Many of us were not fooled, and we selected the correct answer, B, Dragon Lady, which still sounds pretty intense. I kind of like it.
Yeah.
And our final question, number 10. In 1972, DC Comics designated a town of 6,500 named Metropolis as the official hometown of Superman, which, how did I not know this, and why have I not visited this place yet? Where is it located?
Oh, no.
Most people said Illinois, some said Nebraska, some said Pennsylvania. The correct answer is, nice job, majority. It is Illinois, and I have somewhere to now go once we are all safe and can travel again. Excellent. Good job. That was very enjoyable, and I love when I get to play too.
That's
Sally?
great.
Sally,
Yes.
we've been to Metropolis, and you can,
wonderful.
No, you can save your money.
Is the museum still there, or has the museum closed?
I haven't any idea. I was there in 1972. It's across the river from Paducah, Kentucky.
Oh.
Okay.
Yes, I believe there is actually an annual Superman festival which takes place in Metropolis, Illinois, and I believe Michael has actually been to that festival, being the huge Superman fan that he is. So if you want to check it out, Sally, that's the time to go, is during that festival. So
On number 7, Pam and Jerry, isn't that Pam and Jerry from Mr. and Mrs. North?
Yes.
I thought so.
very good. Unless there's anything else, I would like to make a motion to call this month's meeting to an end.
So moved.
In 1 second.
Happy Valentine's Day to everybody.
Very good. Yes. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy President's Day. And
Happy Valentine's Day. Happy President's Day. Jack, wonderful program. And Dennis, loved the first 15. That was awesome.
That was just great jumping in like that.
yeah. I've been planning to do it for like a Halloween, an October meeting, to give us something, somewhat spooky for the first 15, but never came to pass. And well, I guess
It was perfect timing with Hal Holbrook.
Yeah, it was very appropriate.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah.
I'm going to
It
have
worked.
to find more strange.
Yes,
was
yes, I'm
strange, but
intrigued. I've got to
wonderful.
look that up now and see what I can find.
Yeah, well,
say
I
that.
believe it's on, like archive.org or whatever. Like I said, there are nine episodes which are, in circulation. So, and yeah, they tell different things. And like I said, most of them are third or, for second or third hand, accounts. And then they just take a lot of dramatic liberties with them. So.
Strange.
It's great stuff. Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome. So, very good. Then
I
I
learned a lot about quizzes.
Oh, Jack is gone. I guess.
Well, the meeting's
No.
ended, so,
So you don't have to keep complimenting him because he's
He's
gone.
got a quiz show to attend.
Right.
Very good.
So, yeah, I guess you did get a second for your motion, Dennis.
Yes, I did. So, yes, I officially call this meeting to an end. And
All right, thank you.